What's up, YouTube? Eric here, Mr. Fired Up Wealth. Excited today. I'm going to bring you a top 3 stocks to buy in August. Now, the market's kind of running hot, a little frothy in areas, so you're probably looking for opportunities. I'm going to cover top 3 stocks to buy in August that are focused on cybersecurity. Now, I own all 3 of these stocks, and I do like a lot of other stocks in the cybersecurity space. So when you think of my favorites, I've got a whole series on the channel. Subscribe, take a look at the cloud series. So stocks like CrowdStrike, like Cloudflare, like Zscaler. I like those stocks a lot, but they're pretty expensive here. So I'm trying to bring 3 stocks to you that I think are attractive at current levels that you could add to your portfolio in the month of August. I generally am a long-term investor. I like the dollar cost average, but I think the price points are attractive. Now, 2 of the 3 stocks that I'm going to cover today, I've covered on the channel before and I have videos on. So I'm not going to go deep dive into those. The 3rd stock is actually a small cap. It's something I haven't covered on YouTube, but it was a Discord buy back in 2020. It was a new IPO. It's one of those stocks that you might not know a lot about, and you're definitely going to want to see what it is and find out more about the company. I'm excited to bring this information to you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys, the first stock I'm going to cover, I've covered this one many times. I brought this to YouTube before anybody else, way before the direct listing. It was a Discord buy at $9. The most recent video I did was just about a month ago, buy Palantir now. I said it was probably going to go a little higher and pull back. And I want to share some information I didn't cover in the last video. I think this stock is attractive. I'll tell you what price here in a second. So some exciting developments actually with Palantir. They're actually doing things a little bit outside of the box. And so when you think of what they're trying to do, they're trying to actually work with companies when they're in their small stage, and they're trying to grow with these companies and become very sticky. And so what they're doing is they're actually investing in some of these companies and at the same time leveraging their services into those companies as they grow. So they're going to make money kind of on both sides. They're going to make money from the investment in the company. They're going to make money from their products being sticky and basically growing with these businesses. So they've been focusing on SPACs, and they've done several of them. So they got this robotics one called Sarcos. There's a pharmaceutical SPAC. They've been involved in a cell-based biotechnology, a telehealth SPAC, a connected vehicle data SPAC, and then an electric aerospace SPAC. So this is pretty interesting stuff. They're also working with startups, typically smaller companies, but this is a really unique opportunity. And I do want to point out, when you think of Palantir, they're more of an analytics play, but they definitely do cover cybersecurity. And the way that they're built from their foundation up, they're really built around being secure, because they started really focused on government, doing business with federal agencies, high profile, government, top secret missions, things like that. So they're really built around security, and they do have some cybersecurity elements around them, but they are more of a big data type focus. I just want to point that out. Number 2, guys, is Adka. Now, this was a bonus on my top cloud stock picks. I have done a video on the channel. It was Adka versus Ping Identity. This is all about identity asset management. Now, if you're interested in Adka in more detail, check out the video on the channel. It's Adka versus Ping Identity. So essentially, Adka focuses on IAM. That's identity asset management. It allows seamless user identification across your entire organization, covering apps as well as devices. So as an example, say you're a contractor for a company, or say you're an employee for a company and you're working remotely, you're working from home, even if you're working in the office, and say you need to log into the company's intranet or something that's not public information, you might have to use Adka and actually get a PIN. You go on your phone. I've got one right here at Identity, and I basically have to enter a PIN in my phone every time I log into a website. I got to enter in that number. Now, these guys do partner with some of my favorite companies. You think of CrowdStrike and Cloudflare, and there's probably some concerns around competition, but I'll tell you, these guys are really the leader in this space. In fact, these guys have been a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for 4 consecutive years for IAM, up there with Microsoft. But these guys really are best of breed. Their growth is expected to be 47% year over year in fiscal 2022. And their compound annual growth rate, their guidance to 2025, so over the next 4 years, is actually 35%. So even though this stock is priced pretty expensively, it's at 30 times, actually over 30 times forward sales. But I do think Adka is a great long-term story. There's lots of secular tailwinds. And they also did acquire this Auth0 company for $6.5 billion. That's pretty expensive. But let me explain why this is huge. All right, this is a quick article on TechCrunch. And when this deal got announced, guys, there was a lot of confusion. Like, why would one IAM company buy another one for $6.5 billion, and it raised a lot of eyebrows. Now, this quote over here, I think is pretty good. The deal ultimately brings together two companies that come at identity from different sides of the market, and as such could be the beginning of a beautiful identity friendship. I look at it as a great identity partnership that can kind of dominate this space. So Auth0 is a disruptor in the Magic Quadrant, and then you've got Adka as a leader. But here's the thing, they're not focused on the exact same thing. So if you look at this on a simple level, Adka delivers identity and access management to companies who use the service to provide single sign-on access for employees to a variety of cloud services. Think Gmail, Salesforce, Slack, and Workday. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, if I want to log in as I'm a contractor, or if I'm an employee and I want to log in, I might need to use this single sign-on. That's exactly what Adka does. Meanwhile, Auth0 is a developer tool providing coders with easy API access to single sign-on functionality. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. With just a couple lines of code, the developer can deliver IAM tooling without having to build it themselves. That is a big deal. Now listen to this part, guys. This is huge. It's a similar value proposition to what Twilio offers for communications. Okay, you know Twilio, we cover that in the channel. It's a Fired Up Wealth favorite. Or Stripe for payments. So these APIs, this is a big deal for Adka. And I think people are going to start to figure it out. When they report their next earnings, it's going to combine the two companies together. I think you're going to start seeing some acceleration, some cross-selling. And I do like this company a lot, especially long-term. I'm going to cover number 3 now, but stay tuned because I'm going to give you some price targets that I would buy these stocks towards the end of the video. So you're going to want to watch that. Now, Telos is number 3. This is a small cap. A lot of people don't know about it. It's not covered a lot. It's a $1.88 billion market cap, so pretty tiny, especially when you think about stocks that are covered on YouTube for the most part. They do have 350 plus customers. Stay tuned because they have some big names that you might be surprised to see on the list. They have 3,000 plus man hours of IP, intellectual property. I mean, that's a really big deal because they have barriers to entry. You think of not only their government contracts these guys have a lot of government contracts, very similar to Palantir. So you definitely want to know about this company because from a market cap perspective, it could grow a lot. Of course, just because the market cap is small doesn't mean it's going to grow, but $1.8 billion, there is a lot of run room and there's a lot of total addressable market for these guys to chase. And wait till you see some of the partnerships and some of the contracts these guys have. 85% of their business is recurring revenue. So more of that SaaS model, that software as a service, that recurring revenue stream that we love as investors. And 50% of their business is sole source. Now, if you don't know what sole source means, essentially it means there's nobody else that has a contract and they win the business by default. And that's not necessarily a great thing because I don't like that. It doesn't really promote competition. It doesn't promote innovation, right? But this is how government contracts works. I worked for a couple different companies in my career when I sold software as a service and training solutions, and we worked with government agencies, and a lot of times we were sole source, so there was only one vendor that could compete with us. You win a lot of business that way. 50% of their business is sole source, meaning they have limited or no competition at all. Important to note here, guys, Telos reports earnings on August 16th, Adka on August 25th, and Palantir on August 12th. So they all have earnings coming up within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So definitely tread lightly with the stock. I'm actually hoping that maybe there's a sell-off with one of these stocks after earnings and you can get it on the dip. But anyway, I want to go through Telos, the last earnings. So this is their Q1 revenue. They had 55.8 million 2021 Q1 revenue, adjusted EBITDA of 1.5 million. This is a pretty tiny company, right? The full year guidance at the bottom here. They did win $75 million of new awards last quarter. The revenue for the guidance is in the range of 283 to 295 million. That's an improvement of 57 to 64%. So nice growth there. And then they also have 190 to 216% on the adjusted EBITDA line. So that's also very good. Now check this out. You're going to want to see this. So look at this, guys. Marquee customers: FedEx, Rackspace, Salesforce, Zscaler, Amazon Web Services, Raytheon. I mean, this is amazing. Microsoft. You've got Department of Defense. You've got Department of Treasury. You got Department of State, Department of Homeland Security. You got TSA PreCheck. I mean, Transportation Security Administration right there, TSA. I mean, they work with these big agencies, a lot like how Palantir does, and they do different things too. So I'm going to show you what they do. Okay, guys, really fast, I want to show you Telos' website. It gives you a great idea of what they're all about. Now, one thing you'll note right away is they're very similar to Palantir, where they started really in the government and federal space, and now they're doing more and more business in the commercial sector. It's a lot of opportunity for both of these companies. You can see Telos, defense and military, federal government, state and local government, K through 12 education, higher education. Now they're breaking out of that more into healthcare, financial services, critical infrastructure, very similar to Palantir. When you look at their offerings, their two main offerings are Xacta and Telos Ghost. So when you think of Xacta, automate cyber risk management, speed time to compliance, and also comply with federal and DoD standards. With Ghost, you can eliminate network attack services, work online safely and anonymously, and basically work without concern across enterprise. This is what really stuck with me when I first did my due diligence on Telos when I bought it back in 2020 at the IPO, because it allows you really to be anonymous. And if you think of cyber criminals, if they don't know you're there, it's hard for them to attack you. So this is a quick snapshot on Telos and what they're all about. So we mentioned about kind of that land and expand model with Palantir earlier. These guys are doing the same thing. If there's one company that reminds me of Palantir, a small version of it, it really is Telos. So I'm not trying to say they're exactly competitors. They do have some crossover in areas, but look at this, guys. They work with Air Force, Social Security Administration, Department of Energy, EPA. If you're not familiar with government agencies in the United States, you have to have special contracts, procurement vehicles to work with these guys. And if you don't have them, you can't play. So like if they have an RFI or an RFQ, basically they're asking for some services. If you don't have one of those government contracts, you can't even attempt to win the business. So you could be the best at it, but you still could lose to Telos because they have the contract vehicles. So this slide actually paints a pretty good picture of what's going on here. So you got Amazon Web Services up in the cloud, and Xacta, one of Telos's products, is kind of the middleman, right? So you actually have them in between the Zscalers and the Salesforces. And then going into those government agencies, it acts as the middleman between that public cloud, the government agencies, and the commercial SaaS companies. So think cloaked services, encrypted communications, storage, and applications. It's hard for cyber criminals to attack something they can't see. They make you invisible. Cloaked services, private network access, secure private network in the cloud, private web access, anonymous worldwide internet access. It can make it look like you are a school teacher from Vermont when you're actually a CIA agent in Singapore. Really cool stuff. Look how cool this stuff is, guys. They work with military ID. So you got biometric capture and smart cards. They work with the FBI for fingerprint capture. You've got SaaS biometric web capture. Just saying that sounds cool. SaaS biometric web capture. I want to own part of that. Pre-employment screening. Everybody needs that, right? Identity vetting, TSA airports. So they do employee vetting for that. Continuous monitoring of airport employees. That's very important for our security, right? To make sure that the people working at TSA are legitimate people and they're not going to do anything to harm us as society. They do fingerprint capture and FBI record checks. 100+ significant airports, airlines, and general aviation customers. They have a lot of room they can grow that in. ID Trust. Amazon Web Services and ID Trust 360, cloud business, all this stuff kind of ties into that. There's so much total addressable market for this company that actually scares me. Like it could be so much larger than a $2 billion market cap. Okay, next I'm going to cover some price targets, just some really, really high level technicals. Now, before I do that, if the video is helpful, please hit the like button, drop a comment. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click the little bell to get notifications. I appreciate the support very much. As a reminder, again, Palantir earnings are coming up August 12th. Adka is August 25th, and Telos is August 16th. So you've got earnings coming very soon. You have to be careful when you buy a stock before earnings. Look at Pinterest today. Pinterest was down 6% yesterday. It's down another 19% today, down 25% since yesterday. So be careful. I always dollar cost average, but I do like these price points. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't tell you when to buy or sell. I'm just giving you some opinions here. So Telos, it actually opened on the IPO around $19. You can see back here. It ran and basically doubled in a heartbeat all the way up to $41. It's pulled back and it's consolidated. Now, you can see that we found support several times around this $27 price point. We're trading right in that range now. Certainly could break and go lower, but I think it's attractive, anywhere from $20 to $27, and you have to dollar cost your average your way in. So the reason that Telos is on this list for a buy in August, I do think it's attractive at 27. Of course, it can go lower, but we have seen support in that range. Now, Adka isn't as attractive as the other two stocks in terms of price, but I do still like it in this area. Obviously, we would all like it down here at $200. It hit $199 and $209. If you can get it there, great. I think the chances of it going back to that level are probably not very high. It could happen, but I still think it's attractive around this 250 and less price point. You have to be careful, dollar cost average, and think long term. You can see it was basically a $300 stock. So it does have some upside. This would be a very long-term play. So Palantir, guys, it was a buy in Discord at $9. If you want to join Discord, go to Fired Up Wealth Patreon. You can join us. You can follow my portfolio. You can follow my watch list. You can follow my target list. Everything's on there. And it's, first of all, I don't cover everything on YouTube. When I do cover it, there's lag. It might take me a couple days before you get the information. So Discord allows instant information. This was a $9 buy in Discord, so I've got a nice position that's up, nicely. It did go all the way to $45. You can see it's pulled back. So just looking at support-wise, $17 it bounced off last time. I personally think in this $20 range, if you can get it below $20, I think it's a long-term buying opportunity. You could even argue that where it's at now, in the low 20s is probably still a decent buy, and then it's going to go higher. There are a lot of people that really like this stock. It has a cult following. You have to be really careful because it will be one of those that can pop and drop quickly. I think it's consolidated nicely in this period. I think if you can wait and be patient, especially wait for earnings, if there's any kind of mishap on earnings and this thing drops and it drops below $20, I'll be buying more shares myself, and it could be an opportunity for you to explore on your own. I appreciate your time and attention. Again, hit the like button, drop a comment. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.